Postman Pat and the Pet Show. There was a new poster in Greendale Post Office. Somebody was going to point it.
That'll be a good day if it's fine,
said Pat.
I wonder if Miss Hubbard will be selling some of her nettled wine. I do hope so. I mustn't miss that. I missed that, didn't I? Never mind the wine,
said Mrs. Goggins.
Aren't you going in for the pet show? It's a lot more fun if you show something. Well, I don't know, said Pat. I suppose we could show Julian some of Julian's white mice, but the Reverend doesn't like mice. He'd run a mile if he sold them. Never mind the wine, the mice, never mind the mice. I've lost my glasses. Never mind the mice, said Miss Go. Why don't you show Jess? He's a lovely cat. He's sure to win a prize.
Said Pat.
Not a bad idea. Perhaps I will. Mind you, I don't know what Jess will think of being a show cat.
Meow. When Pat told Sarah, the first thing she said was, "If that cat's going in for the pet show, he'll need a bath and a good brushing. Just look at him." Jess had been after mice in the Pottages barn. He looked very dusty and he had pieces of straw in his fur.
Jess doesn't like... No, we haven't done the bath bit. Oh, no, sorry. Jess doesn't like going in the bath,
said Julian.
Gosh, there's a lot of change with this, isn't there?
Just like somebody else in the house, said Sarah. But I have to go in the bath just the same, show or no show. I don't think he's had a bath since he was stuck up that tree. After tea, Pat got the old baby bath out and put it on the kitchen table. Then he began to fill it with buckets of warm water. Sarah found a bottle of shampoo. When Jess saw what was going on, he went and hid behind the sofa. He knew the baby bath was for him. Oh dear, Jess hated having a bath. He didn't like water. He didn't like soap. He didn't like shampoo. He could wash himself with his tongue. And that he thought was good enough for any cat. But Sarah found Jess behind the sofa and brought him out of the kitchen with all his claws out, and Pat put him in the bath. What a splashing he made. It was like bathing 10 cats all at once.
Why don't you keep still, Jess? Sorry, I thought I said the soap won't go. The soap and the shampoo won't go in your eyes,
said Pat. But Jess would not keep still. Jess could not keep still. And the soap and the water and the shampoo went in his eyes and all over the table and the floor and Pat and Julian and Sarah. In the end, when Pat had mopped the floor, they all had to have a bath. And then, when they were all dry again, Jess had to be brushed and combed. He didn't like this either.
Meow, meow.
This was Sarah's job, and she was as gentle as she could be. But Jess's fur was so tangled with going through all the hedges and forwards and backwards and sideways and creeping through ditches and hunting for mice in the hay, that the comb pulled and tugged him and hurt him. Poor Jess. He didn't know why he had to be so clean and tidy. When all the brushing and combing was finished, Jess looked lovely. He looked like one of the cats advertising cat food on the television. "You're a real beauty now," said Jess. "Now, Jess," said Sarah, "you're sure to win the first prize at the show." The next day, Pat called on Miss Hubbard with a parcel. What's my hearing? And she said,
"Have you got a new cat? Where's Jess gone?" "I've lost Pat." "That is Jess,"
said Pat, laughing.
"He's just clean for once."
He told Miss Hubbard all about Jess's bath and the show.
"I have just the thing,"
she said. She took a yellow silk ribbon from her sewing box. "Look, isn't it?"
"Look, isn't he pretty?"
She tied it in a bow around Jess's neck. Jess hated that bow. It tickled. What have you done with it? It tickled him, and he felt so silly in a yellow silk bow. He shook it, he bit it, he scratched it. In the end, it fell off. When Pat found it, it was too dusty and dirty to put on again. And then, what do you think Jess did the day before the show? He went hunting rabbits somewhere the other side of the wood. That meant going through hedges and ditches and muddy places, and he came back looking as though he hadn't had a bath at all.
Jess. "Dear me, Jess,
Said Pat.
you can't go to the show like that."
Look at Pat. But when Jess saw Pat getting the baby bath out, he was off through the open door before Sarah could shut it. And he didn't come back for his supper, but he found a warm place in the cottager's barn to sleep. The next day was show day. There was no sign of Jess, so they had to go to the pet show without him.
"I don't think Jess wanted to go to the show anyway,"
said Julian. At Ted Glenn's coconut shy, Pat won a big food hamper. Sarah bought a woolly jumper on Granny Drysden's jumper stall. Knitting stall. And Julian bought a chocolate cake at Mrs. Thompson's cake stall.
"Oh, nice."
Alf Thompson's dog, Towser, won the pet show. Where's Jess? They all asked.
"I think he decided he isn't a show cat,"
said Pat. They all had a lovely time at the show. Jess had a lovely time too, sunbathing on the roof of Alf's pigsty. But he was waiting by the back door when Pat and Sarah and Julian came home. Jess decided to stay at home when he was sure that nobody was going to get the baby bath out. When Pat opened the food hamper, he found a big tin of sardines in it.
Here's a prize for you, Jess, even though you didn't come to the show.
And Jess ate them for his supper. The end.